Hey everybody, I'm Sarah Kitteringham and you're watching Overkill Reviews. It's been a great and very busy last couple of weeks. I went and saw the Death Doom band Acid Witch at a small bar in Toronto, met some banger fans, and you chicks were awesome. And not only that, but my epic doom band Smolder is going to be recording our debut EP in Chicago. So if you thought you saw me in Chicago, you're not crazy. I was at the Warning Show. Now, you might ask, why should I subscribe? And it's so you can listen to me talk about full-on meat and potatoes death metal.
Systematic in a ways of attack. Deviant by nature, this is horrible death. Once you enter, there's no chance of escape. Next thing you know, cold steel in your face.
This week, I'm reviewing the 14th studio album by Tampa Bay-based death metal band Cannibal Corpse. It's called Red Before Black, and it's out today on Metal Blade Records. That's right, it's Cannibal Corpse. Formed in 1988, Cannibal Corpse is one of the best-selling metal bands of all time, and they're one that's experienced a lot of censorship, and a lot of that stems from their first 3 studio albums. Those records are 1990's Eaten Back to Life, 91's Butchered at Birth, and 1992's Tomb of the Mutilated, which was considered so dangerous that the band was banned from playing songs from those albums live in Germany until 2006. Some of their material is still banned to this day. Their first 4 records are very notable, and they featured original vocalist Chris Barnes, who went on to form the truly awful band 6 Feet Under. And now, their vocalist is George Corpsegrinder Fisher, who is known as having probably the thickest neck in all of heavy metal. He's like so big! He's like a thumb. He's like a human thumb. With either of the vocalists, Cannibal Corpse is the oral equivalent of a horror movie. The lyrics are about murder and mayhem and slashers, and the music is very heavy. There's not a lot of technicality going on, but things are fast, they're straightforward, and they're just heavy, and it's super fun. So, you ask, what is the main difference between the first version of the band and the second version? The second version of the band is a bit more technical, better produced, whereas the first version was more brutal. And when I say brutal, I mean Metalocalypse brutal. This isn't a highbrow, pretentious death metal band. This is the kind of death metal that people who are having fun and like to mosh and just don't take their music that seriously love. And that's okay. So that means there's a question. And that question is, on their 14th studio album, does Cannibal Corpse do anything different than they've done on their other 13 studio albums? This band has a habit of sounding a lot like themselves. Is there anything wrong with that? Does this album change anything about that? Let's see. The first song that we're going to talk about is the opening track, and this one's called Only One Will Die.
No, it's not the one that's fine. Until the death striking to kill. Only one will die. Mother killers, mother evil men, unforgiving murderers today they kill.
Already, this is heavy and fast. This is Cannibal Corpse. You know what you're getting into. I'm hearing a slightly different production style than their previous album, which was 2014's Skeletal Domain, and that's because Eric Rutan of Hate Eternal is back on the production. He also produced the previous Cannibal Corpse albums Kill, Evisceration Plague, and Torture. Musically, there's not much different going on here yet. Maybe there will be later, but we're hearing Corpsegrinder's vocals, and then we get this happy little solo. The song is decent, it's fun, it's not hugely proficient, and not super memorable, but I'm enjoying listening to it. It's going well. Next up, we're gonna listen to Heads Shoveled Off, because that title is fucking hilarious.
Killings confirmed by the hundreds were carried out after the war into time. Killings confirmed by the thousands were carried out after the war with this war.
Dang, I think the best thing going on here is how that riff and those drums are riding this groove together. I really like what's going on there. And here, I need to give a shout out to the drummer Paul, who is also the lyricist for the band. In the November issue of Decibel magazine, which I have already conveniently dog-eared from multiple reads, he talks about how he named the album after a nightmare that he had about a knife-wielding attacker. And that's the person that you're seeing on the album cover. Little fact, Paul formed the band in 1988 alongside bassist Alex Webster, and they are the only two remaining original members of Cannibal Corpse. Oh shoot, we gotta get back to the song. Here's another solo. Whee! Yeah, this is a blast so far. I'm enjoying it. I mean, it's simple, ridiculous Cannibal Corpse. And speaking of that, here's a simple, ridiculous Cannibal Corpse chorus.
Heads shoveled off!
The third and final track that we're going to talk about is Destroyed Without a Trace. And the reason why we're going to talk about the song is because it has the most memorable part of the album, at least for me. And it's a very oddly technical, almost a little bit dissonant solo. Here it is. That was, without a doubt, the most unexpected part of the album, and for that reason, I like it the most. So, perhaps you've noticed, this is a rather simple review for me. I tend to go off on tangents, get a little bit, up my own ass with metal, and Cannibal Corpse isn't that kind of band. So, I thought we'd talk about what that means in the verdict. So guys, we have to go back to the question that I asked. Is there anything new on this studio album? And if there isn't, does it matter? Before I answer this question, I want you to take a deep breath. Are you the kind of metal fan who loves bands like Opeth or Darkthrone or Cryptopsy or Mastodon because they go off on wild genre tangents and they've completely changed their sound since how they sounded when they started out? Or are you the kind of fan who thinks that a band like Immolation or Exhumed or Autopsy is kick-ass because they've carved their own niche in a genre and they've stuck within the parameters of that niche? I'll give you a moment. Did you think about it? Good. So the reason why this review has been simple is because Cannibal Corpse to me is a simple band, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's absolutely impressive that this band has managed to pretty much stay at the top of the metal food chain for 3 decades, making really consistent death metal and bringing in so many people into our cause. Now, when we talk about consistency, we do need to remember that there's essentially 2 versions of Cannibal Corpse. There's the original version with Chris Barnes, which was more brutal, less produced, and then there's the later version with George, which is slightly more technical, a bit better produced, but still maintains the heart and soul of Cannibal Corpse thematically. It's basically the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in musical form, and that's pretty kick-ass. Now, I know what some of you are going to say. So many of their songs are interchangeable in their discography, and the band hasn't evolved that much. And you know what? You're right. But you know who else has a lot of songs in their discography that are kind of interchangeable, who hasn't changed that much? Motorhead, AC/DC, Revenge, Immolation. And all those bands fucking kick ass. So if you're gonna really focus on Cannibal Corpse as a lack of evolution and say you don't like them for it, then you're gonna have a whole hell of a lot of needless hating to do. I liked this album. It was fun to listen to. I listened to it 14 times all the way through. And to be honest, the only 30 seconds of it that I can remember is that weird little solo. So that's not exactly a bragging point either. For all those reasons, I'm giving this album 3.5 out of 5, which is, I remind you, 7 out of 10 here on Overkill Reviews. Oh wait, before you go, there's 2 albums you need to hear about. First up is the 3rd studio album by Chilean-Swedish epic doom band Procession. The album is called Doom Decimation, and it's out on October 31st via High Roller Records. I've been following this band for upwards of a decade, and they merged Candlemass with Manowar and with bands like Magister Templi, and they are absolutely fantastic. I cannot get behind this band enough. The other band that I wanted to recommend to you all is Dark Descent Records band Spectral Voice. They put out their brand new album, Eroded Corridors of Unbeing, in late October, and it is fucking crushing. It's like an almost faster, more cohesive version of Disembowelment. If you know Disembowelment, that's a big deal, so I highly recommend that you check them out. Also, don't forget, you can give your own skull rating for the Cannibal Corpse record on BangerTV.com. I'm Sarah, and this has been Overkill Reviews.